3194 Vasarupostriyam Vasarupostriyam Vasarupostriyam. The Padacheda of this sutra is Va Asarupaha Astriyam. This is a important Paribhasha Sutram. What is a Paribhasha Sutram? Paribhasha Sutram does not itself prescribe any operation. It only is a guiding rule. It is a rule which helps us in interpreting other rules. For example, very simple Paribhasha Sutram you can take like Alontyasya. 1152 Alontyasya. Now this sutram itself does not tell us to do any operation. It only tells us that whichever rule prescribes a substitution adeshaha, that adeshaha should take the place of only the ending letter of the term being substituted. Of course, we have used this sutram many times, 1152. It's just an example of a paribhasha sutram, a guiding rule. It tells us how to interpret. In this case, it tells us how to interpret those rules which prescribe a substitution, adeshaha. The adeshaha, as per this rule, will take the place of only the ending letter of the term being substituted. So we have looked at many Paribhasha Sutrani. So this one, which is today's topic, is 3194, is a important Paribhasha Sutram. It exerts its influence on this entire adhikara of dhato starting from here, from 3191, not from back here, not from 3122, but the adhikara of dhato which starts from 3191 up to the end of chapter 3. Throughout that adhikara, this sutram Vasarupostriyam is to be honored. That is the domain of application of Vasarupostriyam. Let us look at that is why Panini put this sutram here, so that because this one only affects this adhikara of dhatu. Let's look at the vritti of this sutram and let's look at a couple of examples. The vritti of this sutram, always read the vritti of the sutram, because the vritti takes into account the anuvritti, all the interpretations, everything, and makes a nice simple sentence for us to understand the entire sutram. Asmin dhatvadhikare sarupopavad pratyaya utsargasya badako vasyat striyadhikaroktam vina. Asmin dhatvadhikare, we just talked about that. In the dhatoha adhikaraha, starting from 3191, not from 3122, but from 3191. Okay, and then asarupaha, apavada pratyaha. Okay, what is the apavada pratyaha? Apavada, of course, it means exception. But exception, what exactly is an exception? Exception means a rule whose domain of application is fully contained in the domain of application of another rule. It is called the utsargaha. Utsargaha is a broader, more general, we can say default rule. Quick example here is that if we take the sutram kartari shap anuvritti of sarvadhatu, okay, which of course we have used many times now. That sutram says that following a dhatu, the affix shap is to be used if followed by a sarvadhatuka pratyaya, and the usage is kartari in the active voice. That did not specify which dhatu it has to be. It is a samanya vidhanam. Samanyena vidhanam. So it is applies to any dhatu. But then comes the sutram, says divadibhyasyan. This sutram says that if the dhatu belongs to divadiganaha, then the affixation is to be used under the same conditions, which is kartari sarvadhatuke. So now you can see clearly that the domain of application of divadibhyasyan is fully contained in the domain of application of kartari shap, because wherever divadibhyasyan has a chance to apply, in all those places kartari shap also has a chance to apply. Kartari shap is a general prescription, so it also has a chance to apply. But divadibhya shan, of course, if you don't give divadibhya shan a chance to apply in its small subdomain, then divadibhya shan will never have a chance. If you just keep on applying kartari shap, then divadibhya shan will be wiped out, so to speak. So divadibhya shan has to be honored, has to be applied in its small subdomain. In this case, the subdomain is that the dhatu belongs to divadigana. And the way the Panini engine works is that apavada pratyaya normally completely overrules the utsargaha, which is in this case shap is the utsargaha, the default rule, default affix. Shan is the apavadaha. So that's the way it normally works in the Ashtadhyayi. Is that the apavadaha, the one which is applying in the subdomain, it completely overrules the utsargaha. But now this Sutram 3194, which we are studying right now, says that in this adhikar of dhatu starting from 3191, the apavada pratyaya will only optionally overrule the utsargaha. I mean, the utsargaha will optionally apply. Even in the subdomain of the apavadaha, the utsargaha will optionally apply. As long as both the apavadaha and utsargaha are in the adhikar of 3191 dhatoho. But there are a couple of more conditions now. The first condition is that the apavada pratyaya should be asarupaha. Asarupaha means asamana rupaha. So this sa stands for samana. So what is samana rupaha? Samana rupaha means when two affixes have the same form, the same letters, the exact same form. But there's one important thing here, is that you have to remove the it letters first, remove the markers. Only then you check if the two affixes have the same form. We'll take some quick examples, but you cannot say that a particular pratyaya is asamana rupaha with another pratyaya just because of the it letters. The it letters have to be removed first, and then we check if after removing the it letters, if the two affixes have the same form or not. That's what it says, asamana rupaha. So samana rupa means they have the same form, of course, and asamana rupa means they don't have the same form. So for this paribhasha sutram to apply, 3194, the two affixes cannot have the same form. They should not have the same form. Only then this paribhasha applies. That's number one. Number two is there, it says astriyam, which means that both affixes should not be in the striyam adhikara. Now exactly which striyam adhikara we're talking about? We're talking about adhikara which starts from 3394. 3394. Striyam ktin. And that adhikara runs up to 33112. 33112. So up to akroshe nayanihi. So up to this sutram. So if both these affixes, the apavada and the utsargaha, are within this adhikara of striyam ktin, then the paribhasha sutram 3194 does not apply. In fact, we can take a quick example right here itself. Look at the sutram apratyayat, which we have already studied. If you have pratyayanta dhatu, one of those dhatus from the sanadyanta dhatavaha, then we use the affix a to form a feminine noun like chikirsha, jidnyasa, pipasa, which you putrakamya, which you have used. Now this affix a is a apavada pratyaya because it only applies following a dhatu which is a pratyayanta dhatu, a derived dhatu. While the general rule, the broad rule is striyam ktin. Striyam ktin did not say which dhatu it should be. It is samanyana vidhanam. Just like we are kartari shap over there, the striyam ktin is applied after any dhatu. So clearly we can see that apratyayat applies in a subdomain of striyam ktin. Not only that, but if you remove the it letters of striyam ktin, the ktin pratyaya vilashakva tadyate kakara sait sanya halantyam nakara sait sanya anubandha lope ti. tasya lopaha. So when we do lashakvatadite halantyam tasya lopaha, we get the form ti. While here there's no it letter at all, so the form is a. Clearly the affix ktin, which is ti after removing the it letters, is not of the same form of the affix a. So that condition is satisfied. So asarupaha, the condition is satisfied. But the Paribhasha Sutram does not apply here because both the Striyam tin as well as a pratyayat are within the Striyam adhikaraha. So that is why this affix completely overrules Striyam tin, not optionally but completely. And the reason the Paribhasha does not apply here, the Paribhasha clearly says, rule 3194 clearly says astriyam, while this affix and the affix tin are both in Striyam adhikaraha. So the Paribhasha Sutram 3194 does not apply here. Okay, let's go back to that and let's take a case where the Paribhasha does apply. Okay, let us look at this Sutram Tavyatavya Niyaraha, which you're going to be studying in detail pretty soon, very soon. So let's not get too involved in deriving the forms right now. Let's just appreciate the Paribhasha. Tavyatavya Niyaraha, it comes in the adhikar of krityaha. So these are these potential participles. And this is again a samanyena vidhanam. This says it prescribes these three affixes, tavyat, tavya, and aniyar. It doesn't say it's in the dhatu adhikaraha. Doesn't specify which dhatu it should be. So this is applies after any dhatu. Tavyat, tavya, and aniyar. Then comes the sutram achoyat. Achoyat. Now achoyat only applies following a dhatu ending in a ach, ending in a vowel. So you can clearly see achoyat, which is so yat is also kritya pratyaha, but it only applies following a dhatu ending in a vowel. So achoyat, the domain of application of achoyat is clearly contained, fully contained in the domain of application of tavyat tavyani yaraha. Now in the affix tavyat halantyam tasya lopaha anubandha lope tavya. In the affix yat, same thing, halantyam tasya lopaha anubandha lope ya. So tavyat and yat are clearly not of the same form. So samana rupam nasti. They don't have the same form. So the condition of asarupaha is satisfied. And clearly they are not in the Striyam adhikara which we just saw. It starts in 394 to 33112. So the condition of asarupaha and astriyam are both satisfied. So what happens is that this achoyat, it is apavada for the tavyatavyani yaraha, but it now only optionally overrules the apavadaha. So tavyat still has a chance to apply. For example, take a dhatu like chi, correct? So cheyaha, something which is to be collected. You'll also get the form chetavyaha. Chetavyaha and cheyaha. We get both the forms. So the affix yat does not completely overrule the affix tavyat. Why? Because the Paribhasha Sutram Vasarupostriyam, tavyat and yat do not have the same form. When we remove the it letters, we get tavya and ya. They don't have the same form. And both of them are in the adhikara of dhatoho, which starts from 3191. And both of them are not in the adhikara of striyam. So when all this is satisfied, this yat only optionally overrules tavyat. So we get the form cheyaha. We also get chetavyaha. Let's take it one step further. Let's look at this sutram now. Here 31109 eti stu shas vru dru jushaha kyap. Just as a small note over here, there was a typo on this online Ashtadhyayi. This sutram had shas instead of shas. So if you see a recording which has shas, please make the correction. This sutram is eti stu shas vru dru jushaha kyap 31109. Okay, what is sutram saying? This also is, we're going to see all this in detail in the coming pretty soon. So don't worry about the derivations right now. Just appreciate the paribhasha. This sutram prescribes the affix kyap following one of these verbal roots, any one of these verbal roots. So it's a specific sutram. Now let's take an example of dhatu stu. Stu is to praise, stauti. Now this sutram says that following the verbal root stu, the kritya pratyaya kyap should be used. Now the dhatu stu ends in a ach clearly, it ends in a ukaraha, which is a vowel. So achoyat, the conditions for applying achoyat are also satisfied. So this kyap is apavada pratyaya for achoyat in the case of stu, because stu ends in a vowel. Achoyat would have a chance. Achoyat is a broader sutram because this kyap is only applying after these certain verbal roots. Well, achoyat says that any verbal root ending in a ach takes yat. So in the case of stu, this kyap is an apavada for yat. Okay, in the affix kyap, lashakvatadite kakarasit sanya, harantyam pakarasit sanya, tasya lopaha anubandha lope. So when you take out the kakara and the pakaraha, so the it letters, and you anubandha lope means after removing the it letters, we get the form ya, and that ya is of the same form as the affix yat, because yat, as we just saw, we get the it sanya for the takara vahalantyam tasya lopaha, it's ya. So now this paribhasha sutram vasarupa striyam does not apply between yat and kyap. So even though both yat and kyap are in the dhatu adhikara, they are not in the striyam adhikara, so that is fine. But they have samana rupam. Samana rupam. So when you look at the dhatus too, you'll get the form stutya applying kyap. Achoyat will be completely overruled. Achoyat will not have a chance to apply in the case of stu, because kyap and yat have samana rupam. Anubandha lope, both are ya. So the paribhasha does not apply because the paribhasha requires asarupaha, asamana rupaha. They cannot have the same form. These have the same form. So yat and kyap have the same form. So therefore kyap completely overrules yat, and we get the form stutyaha. The yat pratyaya does not have a chance in the case of the dhatu stu. But now the same kyap, if you look at this tavyat tavyani between tavyat and kyap, clearly they are not the same form, because the affix is tavya and ya after removing the it letters. So the paribhasha sutram does apply between tavyat and kyap. You do get the form stotavyaha by applying tavyat also. So we get stutyaha by applying kyap. We also get stotavyaha by applying tavyat, but there is no form by achoyat, because achoyat, the pratyaya yat and kyap have the same form. So now you understand. This is a good example to practice this paribhasha sutram. Is that between yat and kyap, the paribhasha does not apply because they have samana rupam. But between tavyat and kyap, the paribhasha does apply because tavyat and kyap don't have samana rupam. So to summarize, there are these three conditions. Is that both the utsarga, the default, the broader rule, the general rule, general affix in this case, as well as the apavada, which is the exception, the subdomain rule, they both have to be in the adhikara of dhatoho. That's number one, which starts from 3191, not 3122, but 3191. The second thing is that both these affixes cannot be of the same form. After removing the it letters, they cannot be of the same form. The third condition is that both these affixes should not be in the striyam adhikara, which runs from 3394 to 33112. When all these conditions are satisfied, then what happens? The paribhasha sutram says that the apavada pratyaya, the exception, that only optionally overrules the default or the utsarga pratyaya, the general pratyaya. Now, so keep these conditions in mind, that both of them have to be in the dhatu adhikara. They cannot have the samana rupam, and both of them cannot be in the striyam adhikara. All these have to be satisfied, then only the paribhasha applies. Now, I want to put before going to the next sutram, we have to mention this sutram, this Parivar Sutram 3194 is a very important rule. We'll be revisiting this one continuously as we study. You can imagine, you can obviously see that it has very broad influence it has throughout this dhatu adhikara from 3191. So of course we'll be looking at it, we'll be coming back and referring to it over and over again. Now, having said that, this sutram also has some complications. The complications right now we don't need them. In the Mahabhashyam there are some Vartikani which do some tweaking. Uh, we have to adjust this sutram in some places. It doesn't apply cleanly in some places. But right now, let us not go there. We will come back and look at the sutram later on, when in some places in this adhikaraha, this sutram will not apply cleanly. It doesn't apply cleanly. It has some complications. So if we keep it at the back of your mind, we'll be coming back to sutram continuously as we study the dhatu adhikara from 3191. And we will come back and look at some Vartikani to make some adjustments to this sutram. But for the time being, this is enough for us to proceed. The next sutram we are going to look at is 3195 Krityaha. This sutram is Krityaha. That will be our next topic of discussion. This Krityaha 3195.